and hit go live. And live video should be going. All right, we are live. We're recording. Micheal, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Gary, man. It's super
How
excited to be here today, bud.
how are you, mate? So thank you for joining us. Hi to Dave, Jack, Craig, Carlos, my man. How are you, mate? Thanks, guys, for joining us. So I am actually super stoked for today. I love all the guests and everyone that we have on, but I'm super stoked. So today's the first time we've actually spoken, like spoken. We've had a few DMs back and forth. We chat. I think I've teased you a few times, maybe in the high level group sometimes, which is fun.
Probably deservedly. I throw
Um,
a lot out there, so
so it's cool to meet you, and I think this is going to be like I'm really interested in today's topic about managing snapshots, right? Because like we have a snapshot and we manage it in a certain way. I'm going to share that with you, and then you're going to rip it to shreds. All right. But first of all, would you like the cool ChatGPT intro that it wrote for you on how you're cool and why we should listen to Micheal?
yeah, let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
All right. So today, we have got Micheal. I'm going to say this right, Pacitto,
That's some of my friends know it's Pacino, but
Pacitto.
Pacino,
I
I have
apologize.
a whole group of friends that I give a pass for that one because a
All
lot
right,
of my friends call me
Pacitto.
that.
All right, the Snapshot Dude. All right, so today we've got a session with Micheal, famously known as the Snapshot Dude. You are a GHL power user, seasoned expert in snapshot management. Micheal's helped countless agencies navigate the complexities of Go High Level to create scalable, streamlined SaaS systems. So, with years of hands-on experience, reputation for delivering practical, actionable strategies, Micheal specializes in turning snapshot chaos into clarity. So you are here today to help ensure you're not just surviving in the JHL ecosystem, but thriving with smarter processes and higher value offerings for your clients. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it's close enough. I like it. I like it. Better than I would have done anyway. I would have
All
blathered on twice as long.
right. So, mate, so what we're going to go through today is like managing snapshots, how you do it. I know that you've done this from some very high-end agencies, so, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say who you've worked for and done, but I know some of the support providers and so forth, you've managed their snapshots and so forth. Full
Mhm.
transparency up front. So, guys, we do this as an education. Micheal is going to be dropping bombs. He's going to tear our snapshot management process apart today. I'm all up for that. You do have well, you do consultancy. So, if people are interested in consultancy, they can reach out to you. And you also have a snapshot management um, program,
Documentation tool. It's called,
documentation
yeah,
tool.
Snapshot Manager Pro. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I'll be sharing that one. It's basically how you should be managing snapshots. So everything we're going to learn here, you can use. You don't have to use the tool because the principles you're going to learn are universal. You can use a spreadsheet, a whiteboard, a piece of paper. We're going to teach the important things that you need, and then yeah, the tool's there for if you need to go further. And but yeah,
Perfect. So yeah, we'd just like to be upfront with everyone for that because yeah, as we were saying just before we joined in this, like at the end of the day, we do this so that we can share, educate, and help people. But we all like food and roofs over our heads, so we do have products and services to sell, and we like to, uh, you know, encourage people to take up those offers and opportunities if they haven't. So you can share all that stuff at the end. Awesome.
appreciate it.
So I guess was a great way to start with this. So snapshots. Now, I don't know if everybody watching this, well, everybody who's on here probably knows what a snapshot is, but there are probably some people who don't even really know what a snapshot is and why they should use them and how they should use them. So, would you like to give a, little overview for people who just go, right, this is what a snapshot is and this is why you should use it?
Yeah, for sure. So in high level, it's obviously it's a marketing platform that you can use for a single business. But a snapshot has historically always been a term as more of like a backup. You take a snapshot of where your account is. So if you ever needed to go back to it, you could always load that snapshot into your account. Well, what high level's done is said, well, why don't we take that snapshot and we make it so that you could set up another person's business or you could set up 100 businesses using the exact same build or marketing automation system that you built for yourself. So it's really powerful. It's the idea of building something once and then selling it 100 times without having to do 100 times the work. And in high level, when we use the term snapshot, what I specifically am going to generally refer to specifically going to generally refer to. What I'm specifically referring to is the things in an account that will load into a snapshot. So most things load, not everything, but we typically are going to talk about the things that will load and are scalable. But you might hear me sometimes talk about a snapshot, meaning a single account, but I'll talk about that later. But for most people, snapshots are the thing that can scale that you can load into multiple accounts.
Yeah, and these are the things as well. So, there's people that come into the high level ecosystem. They go, oh, there's this amazing platform and I can provide a website builder and we've got funnel builder and we could do SMS and we could do reviews and we've got AI in there now. We've got all these things. So there's a CRM and I could just white label that, make it my own. It's myagency.com CRM and I can sell that to people for $300 a month and I'm going to build a great business off of that. And I would say that that's probably a really hard business to do because you haven't got anything unique in there. All right. That's kind of people were doing that, and maybe some people do. I don't really know, but that's definitely a sort of a challenging business to kind of overcome. Why, if I'm a business owner and you're coming to me as a Mr. Agent, a little agency, and they go, oh yeah, you should use our CRM. It's like, well, why would I use your CRM rather than HubSpot that I know, you know? But snapshots are the way of making things unique, solving a problem for those clients, and being able to roll it out, replicate it, and giving the value, right? So it's not about the CRM. It should be about like your snapshot, your product, your service in there, and the value that you can provide in that. And the snapshots allow us to build really cool stuff and then roll out and say, hey, but we've got this solution for, you're a garage door owner.
Yeah,
We've got this great
there's a
solution for garage
really
door owners.
important point. A really important point that you just kind of said is adding the value because if you're new to snapshots or high level in general, it's very easy for you to get excited about all this cool stuff and that you could sell because to you it's really new. But you have to also remember that there's like 80,000 other people who have been maybe using high level for a couple of years. They're further along, they're advanced, and they've added lots of extra value. So for you, it might be all rather new, but there's like tens of thousands of other people out there that have added that value. So when you are starting your journey, it's really important to not get too hung up about trying to sell to hundreds or thousands of people. What's really important is selling to one person first and delivering value and having them go, yeah, this was worth 500 bucks a month or 1,000 bucks a month. And then going to the next one. Because if you don't prove the model on the small scale, trying to scale something out that hasn't been proven is difficult. So it's always important to really think about the first goal, not the 10th goal post to hit.
That's perfect. I keep getting asked now by people going, oh, struggling to do this, that, the other with high level. How should I go about it? And this is my guru course. I'll give it 101, which is like go and find three businesses that you know that you're friendly with, and just go and ask them, talk to them, say, what's a problem that you've got? Find a problem, solve the problem for each one of those businesses, make a case study around it, get a testimonial, and then go out and solve those problems for multiple other businesses and then charge them. That's basically the way to build your business, right? I think
Yeah.
people try to not avoid the hard work, but they kind of want to go straight out the gate selling their service when they don't even know what the problems are that they're solving. So build your solution, get case studies, get testimonials, do that with three businesses for free that you know, and then go from there. That's my that's my advice to anyone.
Yeah, because you need something that works before you can scale something. Before you automate anything, you need to make sure that the thing works. And by works, we don't just mean it functions, but it makes people money. Because yeah, that's a big thing there. Also, Gary, I just should mention before we came here or early this morning, I'd made a little presentation too, so I could probably whip through that before we jumped into your snapshot. I just forgot to mention that I kind of got something that I could share too
Yeah,
for
perfect.
updating a snapshot. Yeah, yeah.
So do you want to go into that, or because I was just going to make the other point here, so we've
Yeah, keep
briefly
going. I
covered
just
what.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Go on.
perfect. We can jump
Keep
into
going.
that. But so we kind of covered what a snapshot is. So it's like solving a problem, building it. But here's the thing, right? You find a problem, you solve a problem, the problem evolves, or you evolve as a business and you find other things, or you just maybe made a mistake in your snapshot that you didn't realize, or you could have made it a better way, right? So now you're like, oh, okay, I've rolled this out and I've got 5 customers, 10 customers, 20 customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers. Doesn't really matter, right? But now I need to make three changes. So my core product, my product that I've rolled out. It's now on all these accounts, right? How do I do that without messing up those accounts? And that's what we're going to talk about today is like managing your snapshot, right? How do you take that problem that you've solved? It's always going to evolve. It's going to change probably a lot of the time because HighLevel change. They add new functions, new features, and you figure out better ways to do things faster, better, easier, whatever that might be. So now you've got to roll that out into accounts. You've also now got to let your clients know that, hey, there's a new way of doing this, a better way of doing this. Hey, now you can add custom values in here instead, whatever it might be, and that might just be part of your journey of evolving as well in your agency. Like maybe you just didn't realize when you started out that, hey, I could use a form to capture all the custom values that will push it in. And now you figured out a faster way for people to set up your snapshot and to self-serve. So we're going to kind of cover today how you manage that without getting yourself in a knot, basically, because that is the problem, right? How do you do that once you've put it out in the wild and people have got it? How are you going to make sure that you can keep it updated for them, give them the right information without breaking everything, right? So, did you want to do you want to jump through your little presentation
Yeah,
there?
man,
Is that
that'd
gonna?
be awesome. And that's a great setup. It's something I always jump to, so I'm really appreciating that you slowed us down there. Is yeah, really understanding the problem of snapshots
Hmm.
because it's real easy to build things in high level. It doesn't take much to start building. You can grab templates, you can use other people's snapshots and get like a head start. But what really happens so quickly is, as you said, when you get a couple clients in, then the question is, well, how do I upgrade things? How do I improve things? Oh, wait, you have to delete things? There's no deletion button in the snapshots. You could push out stuff to people, but there's no way to automatically delete all those things. So if you do push stuff out that maybe isn't fully functional, or as you said, more generously want to change the function, well, the only way to delete that or to start over is to manually go through and delete things one after the other. So that's a really important point to not skip over is that it gets really hectic here. So let me just share my screen here. I just figured I'd give a little bit of visuals while we go. Hopefully
And
I share the right one, and
guys, if
I am
anyone's got a
sharing the right one.
question as we're going through, feel free, raise your hand. Open for questions as we go to.
Yeah, please interrupt me, Gary, as much as you want, because I really want to make sure that people get the value out of this, and Q&A is really important to me
I'll
because,
just Yeah, I'll just check on Facebook because we're streaming this live too. So just if anyone is watching, if you've got any
beautiful.
questions, you want to put them in the comments, we'll try and keep an eye on there and ask those questions. If we don't get them at the time, just stay on and we'll kind of come back and answer them towards the end. We'll do a check-in.
Perfect. All right, so just to get all the basic stuff out of the way, Gary, you've already done an awesome job there. One thing I like to talk about is that I have a full-time gig right now at a diamond SaaS company. They're called Vertical Action. They're awesome dudes, and I talk a lot about snapshot documentation, and I've consulted for a lot of different agencies. But one thing I want to really stress is that what we're going to be talking about here is stuff that I do every single day. Someone asked me when I was helping them out with some of their documentation processes and that, and they're like, "Oh, do you do this like for any of your own stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I use my documentation tool every day. I don't teach it because this is just, this cool course that I learned, 3 or 4 years ago. And now I'm just trying to, excel in a course. Is like, this is stuff that's being used every day, improved on every day. And all these lessons are there.
And,
Um,
and just so everyone
but
knows
yeah,
as
so
well, Diamond SaaS is 1,000+ sub accounts, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty big and yeah, there's a lot going on and it helped out a couple other people. I didn't get them to Diamond, so I'm not taking credit for that. They got there and they're really great guys, but it's being able to take them to that next level and is a it's a big challenge, right? Because it's when you're pushing out a button that goes out to 10 people, it's a little bit scary when that button goes out to 1,000 businesses. So
Yeah.
yeah. So cool, man. Updating Snapshot. And if anyone has done any updating in the snapshot or tried to, what often happens is you don't actually update it because something goes wrong and you realize, oh man, there's going to be way more work than I thought that is worth it. Maybe we'll just kind of keep it as is and not go big. Updating a snapshot is usually when reality or when dreams kind of meets up with your reality, right? That idea of scaling out and then something happens. Either you can't get the right people to help you, maybe a team member leaves, and now all of the knowledge only he really knew how everything went, or maybe you built it all yourself and you're trying to get some help from some people, but it's hard to find someone to learn all the systems you built. Whatever it is, updating a snapshot is one of the number one things I get asked about, which is how do I actually push out a change? So this is really well timed. One of my favorite quotes that I think we really need to, I think you should all really take this one to heart because in the marketing world, we're always being told fail fast. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to go out and fail multiple times. Go out and fail, right? Start fast, learn, rinse and repeat. But our man Seth here has something that he adds to that that I think is it's fail fast and cheap. To fail often, but fail in a way that doesn't kill you. And that doesn't kill you is the important thing because if you're in a regular marketing business, you have one client and it doesn't go so well, you learn, and then the next client comes along and you just do the right thing going forward. But with HighLevel, you don't get that chance to just start over because starting over isn't for just the next client. Starting over means every client you've ever onboarded in has to be updated as well. And so what happens is that when you take that normal mentality of a marketer just kind of like, hey, we're learning as we go, let's one client at a time and going really quick. It works because you can keep failing. But in HighLevel, when you fail, you don't just get to start over again. You don't get to just start fresh with the next client because you still have this giant load and weight on your shoulders that you still have to manage. You still have to unsort it. And what I've seen, and it's happened very often, is that you actually do stop. You stop learning, you stop taking on clients, you run out of time to do anything, and you're constantly putting out fires. So one mentality that does not work in the SaaS industry is that kind of like fail fast and don't worry about the consequences of your actions until deal with it all later. Because when you're in that situation where you've hit that point, it's not really fun. So not to start with some dire stuff up front, but it's something that we need to know. And if you are starting in your journey, taking your time is more than admirable. It's almost essential. So when you're rolling out a snapshot or you're rolling out some upgrades to your whole system, I'm going to start with some basic assumptions. And the two assumptions that I'm going to be talking about basing things on is that one, your clients are not building or modifying any accounts without your knowledge. So when if you're kind of modifying client accounts or you're letting your clients build and edit things willy-nilly all on their own, a lot of what we're going to teach here is not going to be really useful because uh, anything that a client customizes, you can't really modify that, right? Because you're going to override all of their changes in that. Um, so what we're assuming here is that if we want to scale, and when we say scale, we're not just growing our base. We want to actually scale one thing out 100 times, 1,000 times. One of the principal assumptions is that you're not going to be doing a lot of customizations. You can do some, but we're going to start with that assumption. And then secondly, that you are aware of all the customizations that you have done to accounts.
Hmm.
So if you're not aware of what you've done, or like you build it one day and you kind of forgot about it, you never documented it, there's something going on, that could also cause a lot of problems in being able to update a snapshot correctly because what you don't know can actually kill you in this case there. Gary, does that kind of feel like you riffing off any of that, or is there any other kind of things when it comes to updating you think that might be in there?
No, I think that's fair. I'm waiting to
Okay.
get ours ripped apart.
Cool. So if you want to, before you begin doing any kind of updates to a snapshot, there's some things that you have to have in place. And if you don't have them in place, uh, things are going to be difficult for you. So here they are. The first one is that you need a list of the assets that were changed in this update. So when we say assets, we mean workflows, custom values, custom fields, tags, anything that is in a snapshot, right? And so you have version one of your snapshot. You changed five workflows, six tags got up or six tags got updated, and one form got updated. Before you can do an update, you need to have a list of those things that are changed. Might sound obvious, but if you never wrote that down as you were editing things, uh, coming to this point, things will get very difficult for you, and you'll probably found that out to be difficult. So when you edit things in your snapshot for version one, you have to write that down and keep a list of it because you want to know what was specifically changed about them. You need a record of that. So if you changed a workflow, what did you change about that workflow? Because if for some reason you can't push that workflow out to a client account because maybe it's a likely workflow to be customized, like it has assigned to user and you don't want to overwrite that. Well, you need to know what was changed about that workflow so that you can manually do those changes if need be, right? So you need to know what was specifically changed. You need to know which ones are safe to overwrite. So when you push out a snapshot, you have to remember that any asset that gets overwritten, any customizations were done. So if you onboarded the client, customized their email or something like that, uh, all of those things are going to be overwritten. So you need to make sure that the assets that you're going to be overwriting are safe. And again, you need a list.
That's the really
And
challenging one. Sorry to interrupt you. That's the really challenging one, and that's why
yeah,
and I'll explain what we do and why we do it and how we do it that way. But we've got a way of doing it to try and make sure that we don't overwrite anyone's stuff because that's the biggest challenge that we kind of face, I think.
I can't wait to see that, man. Because yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be going through that one there, and which then also means that we also need to have an onboarding checklist for every asset, not an onboarding checklist in general. We want to know specifically for every asset what needs to be done to make that go live, and that'll be really important in a little bit. You'll see why. So a lot of people have onboarding checklists, but after today, you're going to know you need one for the each individual asset needs to have that documented. You also need to have a live demo test sub account. So what I mean by a live demo test sub account is that we need to be able to have version one of your snapshot that's live that you've kind of loaded it in and then you onboarded that test account so that when you get version two on board, you'll be able to push it out to the version one to see what an update looks like. Because we don't just need to test the snapshot when it gets put in a new account. We need to know, does pushing the snapshot version update break anything of the existing one? Because when you push it out to client accounts, you're going to actually push it out to an actual live account, not a
Mm.
fresh install. So that's a big one that you can take. And finally, you need a list of tests that you can perform to confirm that everything works. So before it's one thing to know that things works in theory, but you need to be able to have that list, your process for testing your account so that you can go through and verify that things work without having to test everything. So being able to efficiently test something is going to be so valuable because if something goes wrong, you'll be able to find it. Because if you don't have a list of tests to perform, you install an account and you're like, I hope it works. I hope it works. And you wait till the client tells you that it didn't work. And that's not a great experience. It's not scalable and it causes you more trouble. All right. So having a list of tests to perform, and we're going to go through exactly how to make those in a bit. How
Awesome.
we doing there, Gary?
Mate, I'm feeling overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Is this
Well,
all like? So, yeah, yeah. What's overwhelming you right now?
it's managing that list, the tests, and I understand all that. And yeah, it's making sure that you basically don't want to mess up your clients' accounts when you push it in, or have your clients mess up their accounts if they take the update, if you have a different way of pushing them out. they don't override things that they've customized. That was always my fear with our snapshot. Is like, yeah, if they've customized stuff, how do we make sure that we don't mess that up with our new snapshot basically when we update it?
And it is overwhelming. Like a lot of this is all brand new. Nobody's ever told anybody this stuff before. No one, I don't know of any people teaching this stuff. But what's really cool is while it feels like a lot, really, if you break down what we've just said here is everything that you do, everything that you build, you just write down what you did, keeping a log. It's like journaling, right?
Mm,
Hey, if I go in and change a workflow, I should go to a change log or a simple like 1 or 2 sentence thing that's saying, I changed this on this account. Oh, do we got someone's mic on? Oh,
mm, there we go.
here. Oh, yeah,
Good.
thanks.
There you go.
Thanks. It's hard to there. So what we're saying is that we need to just have a list that, like, while we're building, we need to develop a habit of just writing. Because if you do that, it takes how long? Like, how long does it take to write something down that you did? If you made a change, right?
So you could
Couple
do this
seconds.
in, I know you have your snapshot program. I know you do all this with like an Airtable, but you could do this in Notepad, Excel sheet,
Yeah.
like
It's
somewhere
like,
simple.
what's the name of the asset?
Hmm.
You know? What did I change? Now, this is the problem. The reason why, there's a limitation of using sheets because, it's not a database and dynamic. You can't keep like move the information around. Although you can with tables now. That's cool. But just starting with this, even if you just do something as simple as what is the name of the asset and what did I change, just that alone is going to be massive. Whoop, let's go back there. Which ones are safe to overwrite? Okay, that's simple enough. You know, if we're talking about or not, what did I change? We might even saying what does this asset do? And overwriteable question mark text right there. You know, put a little checkbox, right? Like so already it's like that's three out of the main things that we're talking about there. And an onboarding checklist. What do I have to do? What do I do to set this up?
Can you give an
So we're talking about,
example for like overridable? Like you're talking about like because when you install new snapshot, it says, hey, you've got these values are already in there. Do you want to overwrite them? Yes, no. Can you give an
yeah,
example of like
yeah,
what would be
exactly. So
overridable, what wouldn't,
the
like
norm,
custom value
the most
versus custom
obvious one,
field?
oh, yeah, the most obvious one is the um, a workflow that has a assign user action, right?
Yep.
When they opt in for a lead, assign this contact to this user. Well, what do you do when you onboard that client? You're going to go in and add the client's user to that, right? Well, if you overwrite that, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. Maybe the user won't be there anymore. Or if you have a notification, right? Like there's a notification and you manually wrote that in the notifications, and you're not using it. If you're not using templates for emails, for instance, well,
Hmm.
all of the emails are written in the workflow. Well, if you overwrite that workflow and the client has edited that workflow or those things, well, it's no longer overwritable. So when you go to push out an update, you 100% are going to need to have a contingency for how to deal with that, right? You're going to need to go through each manual account, make sure that you perform any updates because anything that you can't just safely overwrite is something you're going to have to manually go through on each account and fix when you do an update. Potentially, depending on what was, how, depending on what was fixed, needed, or what was changed. So, did that make clear up the overwritable as for the example? What's overwritable and what's not?
Yeah, you've got to be quite granular with that, haven't you, as you're going through? Like you're going to get pretty in depth to manage that kind of thing and have a really, really good understanding of what values do what and whether they're going to affect that snapshot. There's a lot.
Yeah, it's not as much about, well, it is being in depth. It's about being very diligent, right?
Mm.
And it's giving yourself rules to work in. If you go in and saying, I just want to build things how I want, how I've done it, this is how I do it, sure, you're going to run into problems. But if you just simply have a system and a very simple rule, which is anything you touch, you write it down. If you create a workflow, pull up your spreadsheet, write down the name of the workflow, what it does, was it how to set it up, and if it's overwritable. If you edit that workflow, go back to your docs and change the documentation. It's one rule to remember, which is if you just write it down, all this big list of things you need, that's all taken care of. But the change that has to happen, so what I set this all up for is before you begin, you need all this stuff. But really, we could simplify it down to you just need to have a log of what you did and what you built, how it works, and what you've changed. And if you do that consistently, you don't ever have to think about it. There's no complications. As long as you've done that, you'll be in the clear. So yeah, yeah. Does that bring down the overwhelm down, or is it still pretty daunting to do?
No, no, it's okay. Like I understand it, and I think for a lot of these reasons, I understood this, and that's why we built ours in a
Yeah.
sort of slightly different way, so we didn't have to worry so much about overwriting stuff.
I'd love to see that, man. Yeah, well, that's it, right? Because actually, I will riff back one more time here. And the sheet pops up when I overwrite it here, right? I'm not just sharing the window. I'm showing the spreadsheet right now.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool. So what's nice about documenting things is that it gives you some force friction because the goal is you want as much of your build to be a Y, right? We want everything to be overwritable. So what's cool about documenting as you go is it forces you to think differently about things. So as you just said, and this is why I love what you just said, Gary, was that we built it in a way so that we don't have to worry about overwriting things. That's exactly what documentation does. Because if you don't keep a log of what is and isn't overwritable, and you don't put that rule on yourself, it's very easy to build something that has lots of no's, right? Because if I go through and documented somebody's snapshot, I'm going to go through and write N for all of this. Almost all their stuff might be N because they didn't build it. Nobody, they didn't document whether it was overwritable or not. They weren't thinking about it. But if you have to document it, you're thinking, oh, wait, I just built something that isn't overwritable.
yeah,
That means I can't. Yeah. Go
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. And you go, oh yeah, maybe I should change that and do it in a better way, basically, to make
Yeah.
this easier.
Because when
Yeah,
I roll that out to 100 clients, that N means I have to do 100 times of I task 100 times
yeah,
every time I want to do an update, right? So documentation, a lot of people think, it's fear, it's going to slow me down. It's like, no, 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 man. It speeds you up because that N to a Y, this one little letter has now made it so that it saved you like 1 hour times 100 accounts worth of time.
yeah.
So cool. Thanks for that. So cool. So let's imagine we did all. I do want to get through to the Q&A, so I'm gonna try not to spend too much on this because I could talk about any one of these points for an hour. Let's talk about what it's like to actually roll out a snapshot. And Gary, I'd love to hear kind of some of your on things that maybe you're doing, maybe and if you do things differently. But yes, we'll start with one way of doing it.
We always do
So
things differently, mate.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you're on that. You guys are upside down there, right? So I could see. It's
Yeah,
like things are a little different. Or are we upside down? Depends on the perspective.
yeah,
So the
just
first thing
sideways.
is when you. That's it.
We're both
So
sideways.
before that's all right. So before you push, let's say you're taking your version 1 and you got a version 2. You've built it out. You documented. Awesome, cool. So what is the steps? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to push that version 2 snapshot to a test account. And it's a test account that ideally has the old version on it so that you can see how it reacts, right? So that's step one. And one thing that's useful is if you have the documentation handy, uh, if you've only changed a certain amount of assets, you don't have to push out the entire snapshot. You can target just the assets that you want to push out. So, for instance, let's say there's 10 assets that were changed in your update, and 8 of them are safe to overwrite and 2 of them aren't. Well, why don't instead of pushing out all 100 assets, you can push out just the 8 that are safe to overwrite, and then the 2 that aren't, you can go in and manually change those. Number 2 is checklist is you want to complete any related onboarding steps for those assets specifically.
Can I
So earlier
can
on,
I just
jump in.
reiterate on that point that you just made there? Because I
Yeah,
think that's a really important point in the understanding when you push out an update, you can update just parts. You're not rolling out the whole thing every time. You can just say, hey, I just need to update this part, and that's it. It's not like if you manage it correctly and the way that you're suggesting, which is what we need to do and kind of make it a bit better because we made it easier in some ways and harder in others for ourselves. But this is the beauty of documenting it is you go, oh, we're just going to make that change. Okay, we're just going to roll that and we're just going to push that little update out. We're not going to update all the workflows, all the things. We're just updating that section, that custom field, that custom value, whatever it might be. And that's the key part of correct management, I think.
yeah. You choose exactly what you want. You can skip, and then you
Yeah.
can just select exactly what you want, just as an example there.
Hmm.
Cool, man. Um, and then we talked about completing any related onboarding steps for those assets. So if we're only pushing out certain assets, it's a lot more efficient if we know if we have a list for those specific assets, if we're documenting on the asset level, and I think I pulled my little spreadsheet that I'm making up as we go along here. What do I do to set this up? Well, now you take your sheet and you go to those 8 assets, just the assets that need updating. And if you've documented at the asset level what needs setting up, it's much easier to push out to do those tests or to do the setup and onboarding just for that. Because maybe you onboarded the client fully for version 1. Well, in version 2, you've overwritten things, which means those things are going to have to be, you're going to have to re-onboard them, right? So it's really important to keep a list of those onboarding steps and how they relate to the specific assets. So you have that flexibility and it simplifies your testing. The third step is to perform tests, as we're just saying, to ensure your snapshot's functional. So cool. Version 1, you push out version 2, but now you need to know, does it work? So it's really important to have that list of tests that are based on the objectives of your client. So you're to I don't want to get too much into the nerdy deep depths here, but let's say you have a snapshot and you have 4 major parts to it. You got lead gen, nurturing, onboarding, and reputation management. Those four those 4 different parts all have goals. They have outcomes that your snapshot has produced. What you want to do is have the least amount of tests that will prove that you can achieve the outcomes of those 4 different parts. So my reputation management, I need it to take my existing clients and convert them to a positive review. I have my lead gen. I need to take my cold traffic and I need to get them into my CRM, into a pipeline and warm those leads and qualify those customers. So what you want is a test that will test the functions of your snapshot and the assets to that will achieve those goals. So I know that was a lot, but the the most important thing is to have a set of tests that you can run so that without having to test to look at everything and your whole snapshot, you can prove to yourself, to a client, yes, things are working because here's the test and here's the outcome I expected. So I could do a whole thing on tests, so I'm going to have to jump over this, but so we'll have to keep it simple there for now. Because what you want to do is while you're doing this test, you want to note the areas that are going to cause problems potentially before you push it out to 100 accounts. Cool. The next is you need to notify your clients that you're updating things. Now, this might be optional for some depending on what you're updating, but I think it's a really good thing to notify clients of any major updates. One, because if something does go wrong, they'll be a little more forgiving. They're like, oh, wait, something's weird. Oh, wait, they were doing an update. Okay, I at least understand why.
Yeah.
Whereas if something weird happens and they're not prepared for it, that's going to bother them a lot. And then they're going to have to go and call you first. And then they find out, oh, but there's a test. Well, why didn't you tell me? So notifying your clients is always going to help you out. And again, certain scenarios, maybe not, but most of the time I would recommend that. If the clients need to do anything, make it very clear. If you're a SaaS, like more of a SaaS type agency where you're just, you know, the clients are kind of managing their own accounts and you're just kind of being more SaaS, it's super important that you let them know if they need what they need to do and that you provide the materials to get them to do it because they're not going to know, oh, I have to go and update this custom value. I'm going to have to put this link in here. Like you need to make it very, very clear for them. Um, because most people, if they're likely not, if you know make it clear, they're not going to do it. And now you've just changed things on their account, and now they're not going to touch it anymore because they can't be bothered. So make sure that you make it really easy for them. And asking them report any issues. Again, having your clients on your side, helping you report those issues, letting them know things might change, they're going to be more receptive to giving you good feedback. And then finally, pushing out that new version to a small batch of client accounts. You've tested it on this test account, push it out to 3 real clients. If that goes well, do 10. That goes well, push it out to the rest or whatever makes sense for your client load. Um, and then you complete the onboarding steps, the updates, perform the tests on that small batch again to make sure account is working. And now that you know it's working, you can prove to your clients it's working because you've done the tests. You know you can rest easy knowing that if anything was going to break, your tests have found it. You've gone through a process. You would have most likely found it. And now you only have to deal with the really extreme cases as opposed to self-inflicted problems of causing issues there. And cool. And that's our checklist. So Gary, how much of this are you guys doing? How does it differ?
Uh, it differs in as that we don't have one. Can I share my screen? I'm going to show you what we do.
Yeah, dude. Let's go. Yeah, let's jump
And I'll
into it.
explain. I'm going to justify for us why we do it this way.
Yeah,
Um,
let's go in.
but I have a good reason for why we did this way, right? So we do a few things, right? And I actually got this from when we. So just to clarify, so this is our snapshot for our SMS platform. Okay,
Hmm.
so we provide a snapshot with workflows to help people using myCRMSIM because there are some differences with using SMS to Twilio for stop and D&D, and then yeah, there's just a few differences, right? So we provided this snapshot. So when I was first looking for how to manage it as well, um, I kind of trawled the forums, in HighLevel and got some advice from people on how to do it. And there was a couple of ways, which is like, okay, well, document everything and then go through the process pretty much like you've just said. And at the time, we're building an SMS platform. We're managing that. I was like, don't have the time to manage the whole process of documenting a snapshot as well. And what someone else suggested was setting it up so that each time you create a new version of your snapshot, just put it into a new folder. And then that way, when you push it out live, you can just say, hey, don't push out version 1, push out version 2, and then you won't overwrite anything that's in version 1. And that's the approach that we took. So our approach, so one of the things that is must be done is like making sure obviously it's in a completely separate sub account. So this is our snapshot, myCRMSIM snapshot, do not delete, basically account. So that's all in there. You don't mess around with that. That's where you build the snapshot. You don't mess around with that. You build it, you change it in there, you test it somewhere else, and then you come back and forth. So we don't end up with random things in there. But ours is also an ad of things.
Yes.
So if we look at
It's
like
it's it's
version
kind of like an isolated thing that's not really connected to absolutely everything in their system. Is that what you mean by an ad?
I mean, as in we added extra workflows or extra automation. So if we look at like our
Yes.
version 1, okay, we had a customer review request, and this is all part of the customer review one. We had a missed call text back for landline, missed call text back for my CRM SIM phone, and we had unsubscribe to SMS. And that was it. Okay. And then if we go to version 2, we added in a drip campaign template. So we didn't actually change any of these other workflows. We just added this one in. So our process being that, well, if we push it out, and let's say someone's already got version 1 in here, if they've updated and customized this, because in here there's a trigger link, for example, as a custom value. So if we push that out, you could overwrite their trigger link. We're like, we don't even want to think about doing that at that time. This is something we need to come back to now because this has now come back to bite us in the butt later. All right. So our customers will still have version one and then they get version two, but they've just got a new workflow that they can use, a new
Yeah.
automation, right?
So essentially, you we're not yeah, you're not updating anything. What you're just essentially is re-onboarding them each time to the new version, or they're self-onboarding themselves if they're getting it out, right? It's even though the snapshot's named the same, it's the myCRMSIM. It's essentially a different snapshot, and you're loading just another snapshot into the account and saying, don't use the old one, use the new one.
Correct. Until yeah, so we've gone from like if you look at our version one, we had one, two, three, four, five workflows in there. And now we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10,
So
11.
one question for you. Is this a snapshot that you sell to other agencies or are you managing clients with the snapshot?
We give this away to customers of myCRMSIM. It's like, here you go, here's the snapshots that will help you get going
Yes. So your
faster.
use case is and this is a this is a great thing, especially for a very simple snapshot where it's just like, it's an all-encompassing package. Here's our snapshot that encompasses exactly what we're doing. Here's the new version. That's a great way to roll out. It's a great way to roll that out. Um, it will work for every depending on what snapshot you have. Now, if you're managing clients, in your accounts, adding a whole new snapshot to their account, depending on what you have them, how much onboarding you need to do for them, uh, it it's not as conducive for that scenario. But no, this is a great way and a great kind of lesson for me to even keep in mind is that, hey, if you have a very simple snapshot, sometimes maybe this is an easier solution of just kind of rolling it out. But I like this really ingenious way of taking care of just, very simple updates, right? We're adding a couple extra workflows. Here's the extra workflows. Turn them on if you want.
Yeah. And it works, but the downfall of it is, and why managing it, and I will say this, I think your way of doing it is better if you can go through and spend the time. Because the downfall of this is, and as we see now, right, is that let's say that customer they got version one and they set this up in here, so they've got their customer review requests or whatever they're using that. And then they're now on version four. So they're using a customer review request in the version one folder, right? But they've now got missed call text back for landline and phone and whatever else in here. And they might be using these workflows in here because they didn't exist in version one. So now they're
Hmm.
flip-flopping between and also adds confusion. And literally, I was going to tag you on it this morning because it was funny. I actually had a customer this morning who purchased and said, "Oh, I've just ordered, I've just downloaded the snapshot. Which one do I use? Because there's like four versions in here." And they were confused because they look at this and they go, they don't understand why. And these are, and our customers are agencies, they're high level agencies too, right? So, but he
Hmm.
wasn't clear. I'm like, well, should I use version one, two, three, four? Like, what's the difference? Like, we do explain that in our,
Oh,
we,
do you just having, you have one snapshot that has all four versions in it?
yeah. So we just roll that
Oh,
out and we just push that out every time. So if you download our snapshot, you'll get version one, two, three, four, which isn't ideal.
wouldn't you just have maybe a new snap? Could it not work with just each version having being a separate snapshot, and then that way you only have to you have more snapshots to push out as you do more versions, but everyone will only have one version in their account where whichever is they load. Like, do you need version one anymore
So
in the
what
account?
I've found was that if we delete this out, if we remove this and remove two, three, four, let's say we go to update the snapshot for our
Yeah,
clients,
so
it will
yeah,
delete
here
those out as well. Does that make sense?
I'm not saying delete them. What I'm saying is when you make a new version. So when you make version 5, don't add it to this account. Make a new snapshot of and then just have version 5 and then roll that out to people.
Like, so it
Because
would
at
be a
some
new
point
sub account?
Yeah,
Is that
new
what you mean?
sub account, new snapshot, and eventually, because eventually you're not selling version one anymore.
Mm.
You're only sell people are only the new people only care about version five. No one wants version one anymore. So why not just have version five on its own? And then at a certain point, you stop maintaining version one. Like if there's any bugs or things, you're like, hey guys, we don't support that anymore. You got to use version five. Like that would be how that's what jumps to my mind, right?
So if I just get
But
this right, Carlos, I hope you're taking notes, mate, because you're going to be doing this. So
yeah,
if I
I'll,
just
I'll
get,
send you the consulting tab there in a little, but just for people who might be doing this, because if you're saying, because this is something I think I've seen before,
yeah.
but I would saying was the one thing of this is, yeah, treat them like each one is a new snapshot, and that way, you have to do a little bit of management, but I think that's might eliminate that issue there.
So you would install this snapshot into a new sub account, call it myCRM Snapshot 5 or whatever, and
Yeah,
then for now, because I've got all of them in here, but I would basically delete out those three, just rename this version 5, adjust it, and then that's my new. So I
yeah,
would just I
there
would
you
just
go.
I would end up with new. I would just end up with
Yeah, and
Snapshot
because when you
5,
push out
Snapshot
an
6.
update, yeah, and when you push out an update to version 5, you might change it within that snapshot until it gets to a point where like, hey, we need a new one again. But yeah, I mean, you can have as many versions as you want, right? But you're only ever really selling one. But anyway, that's a little side note. But again, all those, whichever way you need, you got to have a plan. It's good to document down what things you're doing. And but yeah, that's great.
No,
Anything
that's
else that
awesome.
you do on the onboarding side for that
No, because
or
ours is
for
more of a
rolling out? Yeah.
self-serve. So if they come in like in here, um, we have the snapshot like our snapshot is available for anyone. Anyone can grab it. Like we give this away, even people who don't use our system.
Yeah.
They take our Google reviews, our mystical
Yeah.
text back. Like we just give it away to people and say, hey, look, if you want it.
Yeah.
So
So all the updating, so my whole process is for updating to kind of all accounts like within a sub area. If you're selling a snapshot, there's a lot of different ways of managing that. But yeah, that's and so
well,
there's
that's
different tools.
yeah, that was something I wanted to touch on as well because there's now protections on snapshots, right? So you can protect it so that people can't share it, they can't sell it, they can't redo it, they can't do anything with it. So we never locked ours up at all. We just kind of basically gave it all away. But we've actually had some people selling our snapshot that we found out about. So
Yeah.
now we're like, okay, well maybe there's obviously value in this. Like we're giving it away, and we're very happy obviously to
Oh,
give it to our
if
customers.
you ever find that, by the way, I run a snapshot buy and sell group. The big one there. So if you ever do, feel free to send me a message, and if you can prove that they're selling it, I'll make sure to take care of that because
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
I don't like hearing about that. It's not cool.
Yeah, no, it's not cool. I don't care if people taking it and giving it away, but if they're taking it and then selling it, it's like, no, come on, dude. Like, give this away for free. Like, um,
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I don't. That's not right at all. Yeah,
yeah.
that's that one's off.
But
But
did you
yeah,
want to
so I
touch on
have.
protecting them, like how people can do that? But you've built your snapshot, you've got your USP, you've got your products. Like, how can we protect that as agencies now with our IP?
I mean, there's a little. I haven't dived massively into that because the reality is, if people want to take stuff, they're gonna take it, man. If you put up protections, if you make it so that they can't copy an image, they're gonna screenshot the image. If you make it so that um, they can't they can't duplicate. Well, they're just gonna copy the assets, so they're new assets, and then they're gonna export that. So there's a ways around all of it. The thing that I think my approach to IP protection in a digital world is the value. It comes back to what you said earlier, right? Value add. If you're, as a high level agency, if you're relying on high level to provide the value and you're
Mm.
just selling it, there's really no reason. You're just a middleman. Like somebody at some point is going to figure a way of cutting you out of that because you're not providing any value. Likewise, while I do admit having a snapshot that you put all your time and energy into, I think you should put the basics in trying to protect your IP and things like that. However, the value of a snapshot is not just the snapshot. It's how you implement it, how easy you make it to like how many people here have had trouble they have a snapshot and they're getting their clients to actually use the darn thing, right? It's hard to get people to even buy into something. So if the value that you're providing as an agency is not just the snapshot, it's the process, the trust that it's worth the effort, their time and energy in going through with you on this journey to set things up, to go through the onboarding process, to use the training documents that you provided, the manuals and all that. And that's where the value is because without the agent, without you kind of making that happen, it's a snapshot that no one's going to use. People might sell it, it'll sit on somebody's hard drive. I mean, that's my general approach. I know for some, there's always going to be a scenario where it's like, but this, but this, but really, the amount of time that you're going to spend trying to protect things is almost always going to be a net loss to just going out and making your process better, training your team better, getting your brand and your clients excited and feeling great about working with you, picking up the phone and talking to another client so that you can get some feedback saying, "Hey, John, I just wanted to buy, it's like, hey, here's a little gift card for if for for taking your wife out for dinner there. Would you mind if I had like 30 minutes to pick your brain about our tool?" That would be more valuable to improving your product than it would be trying to stop someone else from using your old version, right? And here's the other thing, we're talking about versions, right?
Yep.
They're only going to get yesterday's news. They're going to get your old stuff. If you're constantly innovating and pushing forward, like my snapshot document, one last point on I'll get off my soapbox. I have my snapshot documentation system. I've kind of gone on, and it's like a lot of people could probably copy that, but it's like a lot of the ideas, like I just showed you some basics on things. Like I could almost show you most of the things. In fact, on my website, I have a viewable version of my documentation tool. Somebody could copy that, but man, it's going to be a lot of hours, and they're not going to do it as clean as me. They're not going to do it as organized. There's not going to be all those little bells and whistles, those little things I put like a lot of heart into, and they're also not going to have the latest updates because I'm always updating it as I learn more, as I get feedback from people. So my advice for IP is don't look back, man. Look forward.
A
And
constantly moving target, right?
there's too much opportunity out there, man. And the more IP protection, the more frustrations you're going to create, the more, and it's just not a giant, not a, I don't look at it as a valuable use of time. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Fair point, man. So again, we've been on for an hour, man, actually. Do we, if you want to, we've
time
got
flies.
questions from anyone. They've got Dave and Jack and Craig and second Dave White. If anyone's got any questions or anything from
Oh,
Michael, also please, if you want to share, if you want to bring up your snapshot documentation, share that with people. So you're like, we're not getting anything for this. This is just like value. So if anyone does want to
uh,
look like we don't get anything for this, Michael's just going to get to share this for coming on and sharing some value here with us anyway. And
we had somebody that said
Dave's got a
that it would be
question.
very mess. Oh yeah, Dave. We'll jump in, Dave, and then maybe Zach will chalk your point there. Hey,
Yep,
Dave.
Dave. You want to
Hey,
unmute,
hey,
mate?
what's up, guys?
Hey, mate, how are you?
Um, Not bad. Great stuff here. Thank you for, doing this. Also, you might have already said this, but how do you know which exactly the assets are safe to overwrite and which are not?
Uh, Basically on the likelihood of a client wanting to customize it. So, um, basically, like while you're building a workflow, some things are going to be edit. You're going to expect them to be edited. Like I use the assign user to contact. That's something that a user is going to edit that. An email template is something that's generally not updatable because you're expecting them to edit the template unless it's something that is universal that doesn't need editing, doesn't need customization, right? A website template that's likely going to be you're hoping anyway the clients are going to want to customize their website, right? So if they edit their website, you can no longer push a website over to their client. Does that kind of give you a clear distinction, or does that clear that up for you?
That does. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. It makes sense now. Yeah.
And but to your point, think it's really hard to do something like that after you've built the snapshot. When it's really easy is while you're building in the moment, you've just made a workflow and getting that down there. Because if you try and go back and you have 400 assets in your snapshot, it's overwhelming. But if you do
Mm.
it one at a time, it's so fast to make your onboarding process. When you come back, you're like, what do I do? Oh, look, I just looked down my list. Here's everything that needs updating. Here's everything that's updatable. Here's how I onboard my people. Copy, paste. Like you're good to go, man.
Yeah. And to your
All right,
point
one.
earlier, if you find a no, you might look at that and go, oh, hang on, I can't overwrite this. Maybe there's a better way that I can do it, and you'll build it better in the first place, which I thought was a really good point earlier. Sorry, Dave, go
Yeah.
on.
And
One
you had a follow up?
Yeah. So what would you do in a case where, you have something that is overridable, right? And you have 100 sub accounts, but one or two people went in and changed it that we wasn't expected. How would you, is there a way to be able to know that, or you just kind of wait for them to complain?
Well, that's where I go with the likely to edit. So, my general, this is something you can't fix up in post, but ahead of time, if you don't teach your clients how to edit workflows, generally nobody's going to touch them. Like it's hard enough to get clients to use things. Um, I typically find that my strategy when building a snapshot is the assumption that we're not going to show them the work. We're not even going to show them the workflows. So they're not even going to know that workflows exist. They just know that there's automations there. The only things that I'm going to teach a client how to use is I'm going to teach them how to use their contacts, their opportunities, their pipelines, and maybe the email templates. So if somebody edits it and you've told them not to, you're part of your onboarding process is saying, hey, don't touch anything. If you break it, you can turn permissions off so that they can't touch those things. I think the solution to this is it's into education and locking down your things. Whereas if you're a SaaS company where you just said, hey, I just gave them access and they just do whatever, and I never really onboard them because we're like $100 a month and we're not really got the budget to give them a lot of hand holding. That's unfortunately the reality you're going to deal with a lot, and that's why I generally don't suggest, as Gary said, it's a very difficult road to go down. The better one is giving people a fully working snapshot, onboarding them, and tell them don't touch anything. And if they do, it's kind of on them. But there's no way to your question. There's not way outside of manually looking, or if you have some crazy tool to know that.
So it boils down again to, doing SOPs and onboarding correctly again,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
because if clients don't need to poke, like why does a client be poking? Oh, here's another thing too. When you're building things, there is sometimes, right, when you build like a workflow that has all kinds of things in it, there's a ways of also building things so that the editable parts, like maybe a client does need to edit, jump in all the time because it's for whatever reason it's part of it. In your design of your snapshot and your layout and how you put your folders, sometimes you can make it really easy. It's like the editable ones are here, the editable, uneditable ones, it's like making those a little clear. But yeah, there's no perfect solution, but there are ways of just human psychology making it incentivizing them to not touch. But yeah,
Gotcha. Thank you.
no
Appreciate it.
problem, man, no problem. And by the way, guys, I will go as long as there are questions. So if you all get involved, well, until Gary kicks us off because he's got his kids
Well,
to put to
Jack's
bed.
made a comment there in the chat so that would make it very messy in the client workflows. I'm not sure. Sorry,
So I was
that
talking,
was a
can you
few
hear
minutes
me?
ago, but yeah, if you
Yeah,
want to
jump
Yeah,
elaborate
in,
on that,
okay.
Zach.
So
Jack.
I was talking about when you were doing your different versions, you had your 4 versions there, Gary,
Yes.
and Michael was saying, okay, make version 5 and get rid of the other ones. And then, yeah, that's a good way because if I took that and I had 4 versions in mine and you now gave me a snapshot just with version 5, now when I loaded that new snapshot, it would just show up as a 5th folder in my folders. But what then you need the next step is if you're, like I said, you got 3 active workflows in version 1, and then 2 more active workflows in version 2, and 2 more active versions in version 3. So change the sort of system is okay, we're pumping out a new one and it has two active workflows, and give them an instruction to move those into the active workflow folder and then delete the folder and keep it clean. And like each time, just, okay, new snapshot, whatever's new, gets it done, same thing. And you can do that for a website. Say you have a website with 5 pages, we're adding a new page to the website, same thing. Just push it out as version 2, tell them add this one page to your existing website. You can do it with a template. We have 5 new templates. Add these to your existing templates, clean it up each time, and
Yep.
they keep it clean. Sort of just like Dave was saying, it's your SOPs, your instructions, your onboarding. That's how things stay clean.
Yeah, what you said is, and I think one part that I really stress that really buttresses what you just said is the having a live test account to what does it actually take to
Yes.
roll out a new version? Because the answer isn't one, there's not one right answer. There's some generally best practices for how you should roll things out, but the real answer is which is the easiest way when you do the test. So you test the rollout. What is the experience like of actually pushing out from a client? What is the client going to have to do? Because if you've gone through that process, there's no surprises, right? Where we get into trouble is when we build something and we assume, yeah, they'll figure it out. It'll work itself out. And it's like that's when you start running into things. Whereas if you actually go, what does it take to update things? And you've gone through it. Oh, it only takes 5 minutes, and here's every single step. As long whatever system you chose to do, if it's easy and it makes sense and it works, you're good as gold. As long as you do the test on it. So yeah, thanks for that there, Zach. Was there anything else that you got from this, or is any other kind of
Well, I've
things
seen a
that are?
few of your different things you post in the Facebook group as well, Michael. And one of the things that I thought would be a good thing going forward, especially for new people coming along, is GHL comes with, I think there's like 37 custom fields is all. Like it's a very bare bones CRM when you look at it from a CRM standpoint, like not very much
Mhm.
there. To get together and get as many people as possible to come to a agreement on, say, another package of like maybe it's 100 more custom fields or something. But because if I'm doing you get a missed call text back snapshot from Gary, and then
Yeah.
Carlos gives me another one, but his everyone uses these same custom fields in all of them.
Can we just all,
And
why don't we all just agree, use the exact same value? So
if we
I
could
would
do that,
love
that would
that.
be huge.
There is one problem with that though.
Hmm.
The way that I think this is still a problem. It's always kind I'd have to test it, but one of the this basically what you're saying is if we all agreed that these basic custom fields we're going to use the same value custom underscore fields custom values dot uh, insert custom value here. The problem with that is that when a duplicate custom value is loaded in, it it's it won't always merge clean. It'll actually skip bringing it in, which means that if you have automations that are pointing to the custom value in your snapshot, when it tries to bring it into another account that already has that field, there's a chance that it might skip and they're not going to all link up nice. Um, that might not. I mean, it's really gets complicated when it comes to pulling snapshots, but it might actually be there might still be some value in that, and I would love to be if there's like that might be a little thing we make a panel of, but I'd love to be part of that. I just that's a big push to get everyone to say here's that standard on that. But if that's
Hmm.
possible, and maybe there's a smaller version of it that yeah
Is it on the
Yeah, like I
ideas
know,
board, Jack?
yeah,
yeah
definitely. And values are tougher. Custom values are tougher, but even just adding to the custom fields themselves, because like I said, 37 isn't enough. Everybody adds, a bunch more custom fields. And
or
you just
tags. I think tags might be the
even
first
tags would
one
be another one.
because
Oh,
tags
Custom.
uses a more they use a text base, so they link up with everything else, I think. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of those things I haven't. Yeah, well, maybe we'll sidebar and message me about that, dude, because I you know I'll that's something I'd love to nerd out about.
Mhm.
Yeah. What the kind of snapshots do you work on, man? Or what did you an agency or?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a marketing agency, so I have a number of different ones that I've customized, and I haven't really sent anything out to the group or community or sell anything, just stuff I use for my own clients.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm
Yeah.
super glad to have you here, Zach, and hope you got. Sorry, you're about to say?
Yeah, like, a lot of times, take the standard GHL ones like the missed call text back and, tweak it to sort of work in my system and then use that for my clients, things like that.
Yeah, man. So yeah, Garrett, I think I probably should put this in because it'd probably be remiss if I didn't do it. I'm the world's worst salesperson. That's why I like working for agencies because I don't have to worry about that part. But I'll give a real quick, just a quick little demo of what it's like in my every single day, of agencies that might be. Now, this isn't something that a growing agency, someone who's more new, first 10 clients, they might not be as into this, but it's still kind of good to know where you might be going to. But if you are in that spot where you are managing snapshots, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this part. So what I have for documentation, and I was showing you a spreadsheet version. What I have is a way of kind of documenting all of my workflows. So right now I'm in my workflows. I have all the information that I need on a daily basis. So this is what I have open. I have it open on half my screen and what I'm building on the other half. Or if you have two screens, if you don't have a big monitor. And what I am able to do is I'm able to have my workflows that are in all my different workflow folders. I can track which folder they're in. I give them a series number. I give them a root name, and all of my names are automatically made. So it uses the module ID, it uses workflow IDs. Those things are automatically made for me. I have a place for keeping descriptions of stuff, and I can also keep my onboarding list. So let's say I've just built a workflow. So yeah, let's just add one here into the sales folder. So I just add one in the sales folder. This is going to be, we'll call this 2.0 and book a sales. What comes after booking a sales call? We'll call it
Onboarding.
nurture after sales.
Sold.
Nurture after
Onboarding.
onboard. Well, that'd be a different module. Right now we're in the
Oh
sales
yeah, fair enough.
module,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
fair
So
enough.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
So we give it a description.
I was trying to
We
get
give
you to
it
the
a
sale
description.
faster, Michael.
Oh, I appreciate it. Really chat. But then with the onboarding things, it's like, hey, while I've just built this, it's still fresh in my mind. What I want to do is what are the steps to for this nurture series? Well, maybe there's an assigned to user, assigned to assigned to assigned to user action that needs to be filled out. This is a onboarding step. I can fill out a description of how it does. I can put a video URL, media. I can keep documentation of how everything is. So I'm now documenting that on a onboarding level. I can then even do updates. And it's saying, let's say I come back on version 2. I just made a change. Well, my day to day, I'm going to come here. I'm going to create a change log and say, what did I change about my nurture after sales workflow? Changed the we'll change the if condition logic. Keep it real simple. Change the logic and use another custom field to determine if we should follow up, something like that. So I've just changed it, or maybe I can even say I deleted uh, some unused branches or something like that. So we're not going to go too deep onto things, but what the kind of documentation tool that I'm talking about is having a place that you can track this information, that you can dynamically go in and find the information that you need at your fingertips, because the game of documenting and managing snapshots, it's a day-to-day thing, and it's having the tools that you need to make decisions on what to do, how to change your snapshots, how to roll things out. It's just keeping that information in an organized place, and keeping that all in one spot. So I don't want this to go into two because I could talk an hour about documenting, but I just wanted to give people a bit of a taste of for documenting. If you are in the series and want to learn more, I'll share the link there in the chat. I'm sure Gary, you'll put it in the Facebook post there too. But
Yeah.
it's just being able to all this is just a better way to to use your spreadsheets at scale as opposed to having everything kind of manual one by one. And it's just all of the stuff that needs to be done all kind of in one place and already set up, ready to go.
Perfect. Yeah, if you
Wait,
want to drop,
I'm sharing
yeah,
my screen, right?
yeah.
Okay, good.
If you want to drop
I
the
thought it
link,
was to check my screen.
no,
Yeah,
if you
for
want to drop
sure.
the link there, like I say, you're the worst salesman. Like we're the worst at affiliate marketing because I never even asked if you have an affiliate link or anything, but we don't. That's not what we do this anyway. But by all means, go check it out. Yeah, Michael is a wizard of knowledge on snapshot management. So I will make sure that that link is with the video wherever you're watching it on YouTube or on Facebook. We'll make sure that's on there. And also, you have just shared this in the chat. So for people who are watching this later or didn't look in the chat, there's a bit of a quick list of what you went through.
So my slide, the slide deck that I showed you, I just made a doc version of this. So if you wanted a checklist for what you need to start, snapshot rollout, I just figured I would give you guys a nice little checklist to so that you can, because there's a lot that we talked about. It'd be kind of nice to kind of put it all in one spot for everybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. So we'll share that link as well. And then there is your Snapshot Manager Pro, if anyone wants to look at that. So, and you could take this as well. You could give this to your team. Like you don't have to be doing this if you've got your team building it. You can give them that, and then you've got some training in here to show people how to use it. You could pass that on to your team and get them to manage the snapshots in a better, more efficient manner as well, right?
Oh yeah, and a big thing about the tool is it's for people, for the builders. So if you're an agency that wants to get out of the person who's building, or you're not that guy, right? Giving what you need to be able to hand off the build to another person is you
Mm,
need to have the information that you need as the CEO or COO for operations, because that's more what you're caring about. From an operation standpoint, you need certain information, but you don't need all of the details. So the way I built it is to be able to get the information to people who need it that don't want all the details, but giving the people who need the details, the builders, the the support people, to have that information that they need, and then give just the high level information to that, so that as the COO or CEO, you're able to interface with your builder, your tech people, and everyone has the information they need. There's a lot, yeah, there's a lot of nerds. I don't want to get too much into it because it is really cool. It makes things really simple and easy. But yeah, that's if yeah, that, just a little thing there to be able to get you the information to make those decisions on your business.
yeah, super helpful because yeah, you got to get out of the weeds of the building and the managing and all that stuff, but you still need a place to know that everything is being done correctly and managed. And yeah, this if you want to have an agency at scale and running with get your gold award or whatever,
Hmm.
your SaaSpreneur, you're going to need stuff like this to make sure you can manage all that. So thank you so much, Michael. Really appreciate your time today. Do we have any last questions from anyone? Did everyone get the answers that they needed?
Why people don't want to learn more about documentation? No, on what are we, a Tuesday, Monday? What is it today? Tuesday on Tuesday night? Everyone wants to stay in and doc. No.
It's Wednesday. Well, Wednesday morning for me, mate. We're in the future in Australia, mate.
Oh, Back to the Future. Yeah.
So, mate, look, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today. Everyone, definitely recommend it. Go check out Michael's Snapshot Manager. We'll have the link to this table as well. We'll share that. So, you've got a little bit of a start. And if nothing else, start with a spreadsheet, right? And just start documenting stuff.
Start simply, man. Just start. That's all that
Just
you need.
just start and fail in a way that doesn't kill you.
Uh,
Is that right? Is that the takeaway from today?
yeah. Start documenting. Start
Start
documenting,
documenting.
not just start. I take care there, Gary.
Perfect. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you, everyone.